Illuvium Arena is an incredibly fun and rewarding game with plenty of awesome creatures that you can battle with and collect. However, it can absolutely be daunting for a new player to come on in and understand exactly what's going on, what their goals should be even in the first couple of times that they play Illuvium. My goal here will be to point you in the right direction, get you situated before we even start talking about how to actually play the game and strategize. First off, you'll be downloading Illuvium from the Epic Game Store. You can search it up and it'll be right there completely free. You'll be asked to make an account for Immutable. They may refer to this as a wallet, but don't be alarmed. You don't need to put any money into this thing at all. It's just another fancy word for a cloud save. Once you're done with the tutorial, I definitely recommend looking into the Gauntlet Casual game mode. I feel like that would be the perfect place to kind of get to learn the game, get to know the Illuvials, what they do, and eventually your goal with this, to me anyway, would be to pick up a team composition that you happen to really like playing. Maybe that surrounds a certain strategy, or maybe it just surrounds one specific Illuvial that you happen to really like. It does not matter, but you'd be able to practice with that team, with those Illuvials, and get to the point where you can beat the other casuals or the bots in there relatively consistently before we move to the next step. Now, you'd probably think that I'd be saying that ranked would be the next step to take. However, pause. That mindset would make sense, but there is one thing that hasn't necessarily brought onto the table yet that could make quite the difference. And it's in regards to the Illuvials or the creatures themselves. You see, unlike other auto battlers, like, for example, Teamfight Tactics, if I have a Jinx, a one-star Jinx, my one-star Jinx is the same as somebody else's one-star. Same thing with my level 2, their level 2, their level 3, their level 3, so on and so forth. It's always the same. However, here in Illuvium, it works a little bit more in kin to, say, Pokemon, where they have the EVs and IV system. There's something kind of similar here in Illuvium, where we do have bonus stats and levels. As a free player joining the game, you get one of every single Illuvial, so you can always play with whatever you want. However, you are always going to be level 1 because these free Illuvials cannot level. These free Illuvials also do not have any bonus stats. So what very well could happen, because right now Illuvium, let's be honest, it's a smaller game. You're going to queue up into a ranked game. You're probably going to find somebody like myself, or even better, and no matter how perfectly you play your team composition, you are going to get crushed because there are people with years of experience on you that have higher level Illuvials and Illuvials with better bonus stats. So you can go into ranked, but you just have to understand that you are going to absolutely be at the underdog, and trying to get that sense of progression for things other than your ranked number is going to be difficult. This is why I always talk about going to the casual mode, because all those levels and the bonus stats do not apply to casual modes. You will always be on the same playing field as your opponent. There are a few other bonuses that owning your own Illuvials do give you in not just the Illuvium Arena, but the entire Illuvium universe. For Arena in particular, when you do have your own Illuvials, you do get to level them up as you're playing in the arena. So you'll get experience after every single game. Your bonus stats, of course, do apply. So if you have additional Omega Power or attack damage, you'll be hitting harder, or bonus health or resistances, you'll be surviving longer, that kind of ordeal. And then you can also use these Illuvials in the other Illuvium games coming out around the corner as well. You heard me mention the Illuvium MMO. Well, I can take my Axon, for example, that I have from Illuvium Arena, bring it on in to the MMO and use it there because I actually own it and it's not one of the free ones. Lastly, you have your own Illuvials, and maybe you want to get an upgrade one day, but then you have an extra one. There are going to be other mechanics coming in the future that will help with this, but one of the additional benefits that you could very well do is sell the Illuvial. You can absolutely go to the IlluviDex and list the Illuvial you want to sell and potentially get a little bit of money back, if not more. So then in regards to getting your own Illuvials, it depends on what kind of mindset you have or what you happen to have available and what you're willing to do. So for the strictly free to play, I'll have a timestamp in the corner here that you can hop on over to and get my strategy as to how I would handle the free to play side of things. But if you are in the position and willing to spend some money to build your collection right away, there are two options that you can do here. First off, there is the AutoDrone Runs. This is very similar to a gacha system that you would see in things like Genshin Impact, where you're going to get 8 different Illuvials. Their stats and which Illuvials they end up being are going to be completely random, with there being no way to control this. There are 2 different options for AutoDrone runs, each with different rarities and different costs. First off is the cheaper of the 2, where it is the charge drone run. For 99 fuel, you can absolutely snag 8 Illuvials for themselves, completely random. But again, all those Illuvials that you gain are now yours. You can keep them, level them, sell them, whatever you want to do, they are yours now. There is also the Hyper Auto Drone Run. This one, though, a little bit pricier, 1,199 fuel, which equates to about $10 USD. But with that Hyper Drone Run, you're able to get a better chance at finding evolutions of Illuvials. So finding those stage 2s, stage 3s, for example, the ones that are much harder to find off the charge runs, and even in the wild way back in the day, the ones that were really hard to find, the hyper auto drone runs will give you a better shot at getting them. And you heard me mentioning fuel. Fuel is the premium currency here in Illuvium that can just be purchased with credit card. And it's the easiest access. You can get that right from the Illuvium website or the IlluviDex. Speaking of the IlluviDex, that's the other option that we can do. If you happen to know exactly which Illuvials you want for your team, you can go out to the IlluviDex and buy them in singles. Players have the option to put their Illuvials up for sale, and a lot of them have done it there in the IlluviDex. However, one thing to take note is by doing transactions here on the IlluviDex, you will need some knowledge in Web3 transactions or crypto transactions. So if you don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, I don't blame you. I get it. But that is the best way of getting exactly what you're looking for the fastest. In regards to what you should pick up first, I do have a couple of recommendations. First off, I'd take a look at the tier 1s and the tier 3 Illuvials. Those ones are going to be some of the more inexpensive, but yet still rather powerful Illuvials that you can build up a collection rather quickly without spending a whole heck of a lot at all. And I mean, like, you can probably get, at least from the base floor price, get a collection of Illuvials for yourself for under $5. Like, it's not much at all. And I'm including evolutions on that as well. The tier 3s are going to be a little bit higher. You're probably looking for an entire collection for maybe around 10 or more. But if you have to specifically pick and choose, the big ones that I would go for are all of the middle stage evolutions for those Illuvials. So say for the tier 1s, if you're looking at the Atlas line, pick up Axon. Because what it feels like to me is most of the time, you'll be spending in the arena will be with the stage 2 Illuvials, of regardless of which tier you're getting. Because stage 1s, the baby forms, those tend to be much weaker and aren't usually worth playing on the board unless you're just trying to fill space or flood the board. And then getting tier 3s can be very, very tough to do. Not impossible, but you're not guaranteed of scoring that fully evolved Illuvial every single game. However, you can almost guarantee that you're going to find the middle evolution every single game, and they're powerful enough to keep on the board and properly use. So I definitely recommend going for tier 1s and tier 3s, with their middle stage evolutions being the first thing you focus on. And if you're open to more, I cautiously take a look into the tier 4s and the tier 5s. These are some of the rarest Illuvials in the game, and thus will be a little bit pricier. However, I know depending on the team composition that you're going for, these tier 4s or tier 5s may be a critical piece. However, the floor for some of these Illuvials aren't necessarily too bad, although careful when you go into the tier 5s, because that's when you can potentially be spending a couple bucks on even just a basic floor level Illuvial due to the rarity of said Illuvial. To compare, like, Pokemon terminology, like, I wouldn't consider the tier 5s legendaries. However, they might as well be like pseudo-legendaries, like Metagross or Tyranitar kind of levels, where finding them can be very, very difficult, but if you have one, damn, they're powerful. In regards to tier 0s and tier 2s, I honestly would just stay away from it completely, not because they're not useful, but because of the randomness aspect to the games. Like, say, for example, for the tier 0s, I might have a Fire Tipo, but what a Tipo is in every single game changes, and you aren't guaranteed to be able to actually get the Fire Tipo. Same thing here with the Lynxes. I might have a beautiful stoic floor Lynx ready to battle, but no, this game it happens to be the nimble Hydrolynx. And I can never guarantee that I'm going to get the tier 0 or the tier 2 I want. So if you're collecting for the sake of collecting and want to pick those up, by all means go ahead. However, if you're looking to build your team composition and you want one of those specifically, I'd honestly just avoid it for now because you're not guaranteed to actually get it. Now, if you are strictly free to play, that's okay, no worries. You can still enjoy Illuvium. I do recommend continuing to play the casual games though, and maybe not touching ranked, because again, the difference in levels is going to hurt you tremendously until you can eventually start getting some of your own Illuvials. And I recommend joining the Illuvium Discord. That is where you're going to be able to see whenever tournaments or any sort of events happen to be coming up. That can maybe give you a little bit of fuel as a free-to-play player, or maybe specific newcomer-centric events that could be coming in the future. The path of getting your own collection is going to take much longer, but it can still be done. Now, once you actually own some of your own Illuvials, that's when the real adventure truly begins for you. That's when it's time to hop into ranked. Because unfortunately, casual does not give you experience. So you're going to have to hop into ranked. Yes, you are going to be the underdog still. You may have your own Illuvials, but you're going to be going up against people that are much higher than you. However, at the end of every single game, you will get experience based off of your performance in the arena, and your Illuvials that were used will get experience and level up. What happens every time you level up, per se? You basically get a 1% bonus in your health, attack damage, and omega power. So every single level you get is going to make an impact ever so subtly. And especially getting through those first couple levels, it's actually pretty quick. So you can really feel the power boost when owning your own Illuvials pretty quickly. You can also speed up your leveling process a little bit quicker if you do opt to spending fuel. There is currently a 200% bonus or 600% bonus experience upgrade that you can get from the shop inside of the game for Illuvium Arena, and it does help quite tremendously. Now, if you're in the arena and it feels like no matter what you do, you just can't seem to beat this one player, they could be one of those players that I'm talking about that has these very experienced Illuvials. If you ever want to check and see for yourself, right-click onto one of their Illuvials and hold down Shift. In the purple hexagon, you will see the level of the Illuvial, the small white number there, and then you'll see the big hexagon at the very bottom that has the yellow lines filled in there. That's in regards to its stats. So sure enough, if you happen to be going up against that player and you keep losing, don't feel bad. That's the equivalent of you walking out of Pallet Town and then playing against the Indigo Plateau champion. There's no chance. You just got to try and do your best up against them, see how many of their Illuvials you can take out, but try not to feel too bad if they do take you down, because there's only so much you could do in that situation. And lastly, in regards to levels themselves, as of the recording of this video, max level is 100. However, realistically, it actually ends up being level 60, because as soon as you hit level 60, the amount of experience it takes to get from 60 to 61 is the same amount of experience as it takes to get from 1 to 60. So you will hardly ever see anybody, at least as of the time of this video, even hitting 62 as of this moment. If this video helped you at all, I do ask that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I know this was kind of just the get started portion, but I have more guides for newcomers coming on forth in the next little bit, as well as just a bunch of additional videos and content here surrounding Illuvium, its universe, and all of the games attached to it. I also do stream every Monday and Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. UTC, and I've also recently started running my own events and tournaments here in Illuvium with Illuvium Arena. And if you want to help support me in keeping those tournaments alive, there is one way that you can absolutely do so, and that is by using my referral code in the IlluviDex. Anytime any purchases are made while my code is active, I do get a small kickback as well, which any kickback that I am going to be receiving is going to go into those tournaments and events that I was talking about, so we can keep the fun running here. And especially for the newcomers, that's probably going to be a big way of how you actually get Illuvials. And of course, if you wish to do that, big thank you, my code is silent. Here's to the start to what could be an incredible journey, Ranger. I look forward to seeing you out there, and as always, good luck with your training, Ranger.